Hey guys, welcome to Row 87 with Shuts and Boom Season 2, Episode 16. I am Shuts.
I'm Boom.
What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Basketball starts this weekend.
Yawn.
I got 3 games on Sunday.
You know, that's actually pretty cool. I sit out for basketball season.
It's okay. It's cardio.
It's cardio. Keep up the cardio. We went and saw Double Tap.
We did see Double Tap.
What'd you think of it?
It was better than I expected, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a flop.
Turn the brain off for an hour and a half and enjoy yourself. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's good for what it represents, and it's simply that.
It's not as good as the original, in my opinion, but I think it did well for a sequel.
It's Zombieland. I enjoyed it. Woody Harrelson. You can't go wrong with Woody Harrelson.
And Tallahassee himself.
Season. Well, I was thinking of the Florida State team. Yeah. Season ends for me. Pretty sure the season ends for me this come tomorrow.
So you're going to have more time on your hands. I'm going to have less time on my hands. I just had like a month and a half, 2-month reprieve, really. Well, not quite. About a month and a half since I've done any baseball. So I had my break for the year.
I'm gonna focus more on the show.
There we go.
We just got done with fall break. It went way too quick for college.
Yeah.
It's winding down. I'm on the back stretch now, the back half, until I graduate, please God.
8 weeks, 7 weeks now?
About 8 weeks or so. So, no, I will be doing more focus on the show. And,
Very nice.
By the way, thank you, Ashley, for putting out that content. That was awesome.
Yeah.
The ghost, we haven't seen her.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
She's working hard. She's putting out good articles, good stuff. We're still looking for writers.
We're still looking for writers. We're still looking for anything and everything having to do with media. You know anybody who likes to do production work, let me know. Yeah, you know anybody who likes to blog, let me know.
Row87.com.
We're here.
We are here. Riding high. I'm riding high because we are on the final stretch of college. With that, college football.
College football. Foosball.
Who's the team to you that's riding the highest right now? In the Big Ten, I'd say Minnesota still.
Well, I mean, OSU. I mean, Ohio State is still Ohio State. Penn State
is riding high. They're riding pretty high.
Penn State, but unexpectedly, I would say definitely Minnesota. I think still that Penn State is going to finish very strong in second place in the East. I think they finish above Michigan. I think they proved that. I mean, they're a better football team. When the final bell tolls and you win, you win.
I guess if you go around the conference, it would be Ohio State. In the Big 12, I'd go Oklahoma's riding high. Oklahoma's always riding high. In the SEC, clearly Bama. LSU, not far behind. In fact,
I would say if I were a voter, LSU would be my number one. They would. The resume.
Yeah.
Bama at 2.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma at 3.
Soon we'll get into the playoff talks. We're about to hit, this is the last week of October, we're about to hit wacky November.
Yes.
This is where football gets real fun because crazy, crazy stuff happens. In fact, I think this weekend, which we're going to get to, some wacky stuff in the top 25 is going to go on.
That's possible. I'm looking over my list right now. I actually wrote down my picks so that I can reference it next week. So I can be like, I went 18-1 in my picks between the top 25 and the Big Ten. I wrote it all down this week. I want to start documenting it so that we can, next year especially, we're going to keep track from week 1 all the way through, and then we'll have records at the end. So people
we have a little competition between you and I.
And we can be laughed at by everyone else.
Right. We'll have a little competition come next year.
Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel? Oh, I don't know. You can't say Illinois, can you?
No, they kind of did a big deal thing last weekend. They kind of shocked the world.
Wow.
Upset of the season thus far.
In the Big Ten, certainly. Well,
I would argue in college football, possibly.
Well, you're going to see some more before it's said and done.
Yes.
My bottom of the barrel, I don't know right now. Rutgers, that's too easy though. That's too easy. They're playing Liberty this weekend, and Liberty is favored.
Yeah. I would probably bottom of the barrel. I would say Rutgers is right there, and then of course you still have UMass, UConn. I mean, the usual suspects. The sad thing is that hasn't changed much all year.
And I don't think it will. I just fear my team doesn't reach the bottom of the barrel. Our team, Nebraska's team.
Well, this weekend's an awful big test.
It's a huge one. You said this. I'm going to put you on blast.
What's up?
You want to make a bold prediction? What you told me riding into this game? How much this game means?
People might laugh. People might.
Sorry, I had to do it. I put you on blast.
No, it's cool. I'm good with it. I think that if Nebraska loses this football game, they don't win another game this year. I think that's how big Nebraska's matchup with Indiana is this weekend, Memorial Stadium. Sellout crowd.
We'll be there.
Wearing the alt-black jerseys. Shutzy and I will be in the 94th row. not row 87.
The Oracle's taking Mom.
Yeah, we'll be caddy corner in the stadium, up 94 rows watching the football game. This is the biggest game of the year, and we're going to say that every week from here on out. But I think this one's important, and I think it's important for the psyche of the Nebraska football team. They lose, they go into a backslide.
Well, we'll get to it on the show, but there's a lot of psychology going on in Lincoln right now.
Yes.
And I don't know that I'd go doom and gloom boom, but I'm not making fun of you here. But I'd also go that this game is huge implications.
Yes, I said, from here on out, every game is the biggest game of the season.
What a win would do. We'll get to the predictions. Let's go to top 25. What do you say, Boom?
Let's do it.
SMU just beat Houston.
Of course they did.
Tankum Houston just lost again.
Tankum Houston was pretty close to knocking off undefeated SMU, though. It was close.
34-31. SMU still undefeated. I can't believe that. The old Pony Express from back in the day. Here we go. Oklahoma, 5th ranked, 7-0, undefeated. At Kansas State, who's 4-2, Oklahoma by 23.5.
Drop it. Jalen Hurts himself will probably score 10 points more than that.
Do not sleep on this game. I think it's an Oklahoma win. I'm taking the points.
All right.
I think that this is, keep your eye on this. I'm telling you, we're getting to the crazy month. I think that Kansas State keeps it closer than 23.5. I'm taking the points.
Okay.
Appalachian State, 21st ranked, 6-0, playing the mighty 1-6 South Alabama.
Speaking of bottom of the barrel, drop the points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at Nebraska's opponents they've beaten, not good.
Sadly, look at the opponents that has beaten Nebraska.
Well,
Ohio State's good. And
Minnesota's undefeated.
And then you got a 3-4 Colorado team.
Yeah. Yeah. Auburn LSU, this is a big one. 9th ranked Auburn at number 2 LSU at Death Valley. 6-1 versus 7-0. LSU by 10.5.
Drop it. I'm sold. I am all in on LSU right now.
I don't know. I don't know. Ian, I love you, brother. I think LSU gets this one. I'm not 10.5. All right, I'm going to drop it. Don't kill me, Ian. But I think LSU does get it done. Penn State at Michigan State. I will get to that. That's Big Ten. Texas TCU. We talked about this before the air. What does Vegas know? 15th ranked Texas, who got by the skin of their teeth, and Les Miles had some words about that against Kansas, 50-48. Pulled it out with a last-second field goal. Les Miles was complaining about the clock in that one. Some timing issues. Surprise, surprise, when it comes to Texas. At TCU, Texas by a point. TCU is 3-3.
I'm going to drop the point. Even though have not been big on Texas all year, I think Texas gets the job done this weekend. I think they win by more than a point. I mean, I don't know why, but I think they respond. They obviously did not play very well last week defensively.
I like TCU in this.
Okay.
I like TCU. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Iowa State at home, they're 10.5 faves.
We all know how I feel about Iowa State. Mm-hmm. I said before the season started, I think they potentially could finish second. That's still possible in the Big 12. But they don't cover this week. I am going to pick them to win, but I am going to take the points in Oklahoma State. Anything could happen in the Big 12. It's a lot like the Pac-12. They're not as bad as the Pac-12, but Oklahoma State can score points. I'm going to say Iowa State wins at home, but they do not cover.
I agree with you. Arkansas, Alabama. Alabama by 31.5.
Drop it. I don't care who starts at quarterback. Drop it. Arkansas is that bad.
I agree, but I'm going to say take the points, Alabama by 30.
Okay. Ooh, I like it.
Boston College at Clemson. Clemson by 34.
Drop it.
Nope, Clemson by 31.
Ooh.
I'm taking the points. Notre Dame, we'll get to that. Arizona State. What does Vegas know? Arizona State 5-2 at UCLA, who's 2-5. Arizona State by 3.
We differ on this one. I am going to drop the points. Arizona State wins by 4.
Ooh. I'm taking upset special. UCLA wins it.
Outright.
All
right.
Cal at Utah. Utah by 21. Cal's 4-3. Utah is 6-1, 12th ranked.
Drop it like it's hot.
Take the points. I think Utah wins it, but take the points. Washington State at Oregon. Oregon by 14. Oregon's 11th ranked, 6-1. Washington State's 4-3.
I'm taking the points, but I think Oregon wins.
I'm going to agree with you on that. You just cannot, do not turn your back to Mike Leach.
Correct.
I'm going to agree with you, but I think that's closer than 14. Mike Leach he's just fun to watch. His defense is, if you're a defensive-minded guy, don't turn their game on. Don't turn that channel on.
No.
It's horrendous. But my God, is it fun to watch on offense.
Yes, it is.
I don't know that as a football purist and enthusiast, both of us, if you can call it football what they do. But I will give it this. It's entertaining. On to the Big Ten. What do you say, Boom?
Let's go.
Wisconsin, Ohio State. You're intrigued by this matchup. You were talking a bit about it. What Wisconsin team do we see? I think we see a fired up one. I don't think it's going to matter. 13th ranked versus 3rd ranked. OSU by 14.5.
Drop it. Ohio State is that good.
I think that you're going to see a fully charged Wisconsin team come in there with a lot to prove. I think Ohio State I'm going to drop it too. I think Ohio State gets it done.
Good choice.
Here's one I'm intrigued by. I don't know why I am. I think it's because it's Fitzy. 20th ranked Iowa going to Evanston versus 1-5. Wow, is that weird to say? 1-5 Northwestern. Iowa by 9.5.
You mispronounced upset special of the week from Boom.
Oh.
Outright win by Fitzy.
Okay.
Outright win by Northwestern. Iowa has a hiccup every year. They
almost had one last week, 26-20 with Purdue at home.
They almost did last week. I don't know why. There is nothing. There's no statistic that I can look at or point at to say that Fitzy wins this football game. I just have a gut feeling they do. Outright win by Northwestern. It's my upset special of the week.
That's it. You know what? I was looking at their schedule. I'm about to pull it up again here. They have remaining, Northwestern I'm talking about, Iowa, Indiana, Purdue, UMass, Minnesota, and Illinois. I have a tough time. There's still a chance that they'd have to win quite a few games to go to a bowl. I don't think they're going to go to a bowl.
No.
But I have a tough time seeing them only winning 2 or 3 games. I really do.
I don't know why. I just think
it's Fitzy. I just think that I don't know that I'm. I've picked Iowa and had egg on my face the last couple weeks. I'm going to still say Iowa.
Okay.
But take the points.
Take the points.
Take the points. This is the one both of us looked at each other and go, circle it for both programs. What a shocker to the world what Illinois did last week. But now they're on a road. This is an interesting one. What does Vegas know, right? Illinois is at Purdue. Illinois is 3-4. Purdue is 2-5. Purdue by 10.
Purdue wins this football game.
Okay.
But I'm taking the 10 points.
You're taking the 10 points.
Taking 10 points, but Purdue wins.
I'm going to go in another direction, and I'll tell you why. I would say I would be with you, except for the fact that I think Illinois is riding high on an upset of the year. That's an emotional game, and in college football, you see it all the time. After an emotional game, the next week they usually play like garbage. I'm banking on the fact that Illinois doesn't know how to win consistently. I like Purdue by the 10. I'm going to drop the points.
All right.
This one you were laughing. Oh, if you could have heard Boom. If you could have heard Boom before we went on air. Liberty at Rutgers. Liberty.
Yes.
Old Turner Gill.
Yes. He was there for a while.
He was head coach. I think last year he stepped down. I want to say.
Yeah, now he's an assistant somewhere.
At Arkansas.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
He's administrator. He's not. I don't.
Is that what it is?
He's an administrator. I don't think he's on the field. Anyway, we digress. I digress, as I usually do on my rants. 5-2 Liberty, who is full-blown D1. At Rutgers, Liberty by 7. Holy cow.
I'm dropping it.
Are you really?
Yes, I am.
You think Rutgers is just, not that this is hard to believe, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but you think Rutgers is completely thrown in the towel? Just we're done. They got an interim right now. People are pretty sure it's going to be Schiano. I've heard a couple other names thrown out there.
I think they're done.
You think they're just
Dunzo? I'm dropping the points. Yeah.
I'm going to join you. I think Liberty gets it done. Drop the points. Wow, Rudger. I don't know. Speaking of that, I don't know if Schiano takes it. I don't know if he does. He looks like a genius if he can get that club to 500 a year. You know who thought that too? Who was a shit hot coach coming out? Chris Ash. That is a snake pit. Now Schiano did it before.
He's done it. That's the difference.
He has, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not, but I will say this. I think they're on harder times than when he hit the door.
Well, the thing is, he's done it, but has he done it in the Big Ten?
And they are abysmal. They are terrible. Horrid. And you think the rebuild he did before. I mean, there was a time Rutgers was okay. Birthplace of college football, yada, yada, yada. That's great. 150 years ago. That's cool. I've been to that stadium. It's a cool stadium. Their fan base could care less, really. They'll go watch the Rangers, or they'll go watch they'll go watch the Mets. They don't care. But I don't know. I like Liberty in that. Penn State at Michigan State. 6th ranked Penn State, undefeated. At 4-3, Michigan State. Penn State by 6.
I'm going to drop the 6. I think it's close. I think it's a single-digit game, but I think they cover the 6.
You alluded this before the season started. The old D'Antonio, who's done a better job than I think anybody ever will do at Michigan State, given the hand they're dealt, and I think they go back to the dark ages once he leaves. But I think that
the end is near.
The end is near. You mentioned that before the season started. You were like, well, I just think that Michigan State, with the, shall we call it, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, off-the-field issues going on there.
Yes.
And the fact that for him to hold on to where he's at and being able to hold on as long as he has is close to a miracle. It really is.
As a little brother in his own state, yeah. And to think that he's having to compete annually with obviously an Ohio State that isn't going anywhere. Michigan, where the questions are still out there a little bit.
But it's still Michigan.
It's still Michigan. And then, at least for the time being, with James Franklin, a very, very, very good Penn State team. It's going to be tough to keep your job if you're perennially finishing 4th, which I think is the trend for them in the East.
They didn't have a good showing last year. Not to take away from Nebraska's win, but they didn't have a good showing last year.
They did not.
And it's starting to slide. It looks like it. I think you might be onto something there. I like Penn State by 6. I'm going to drop the points. Maryland at Minnesota. Now, everybody knows how I feel about P.J. Fleck.
Tell me. How do you feel about P.J. Fleck?
But, I had to swallow my pride in what they did in Nebraska. That's all good and well. I like Minnesota in this one, but I'm going to take the points. It's 16.5.
I'm following suit there. I think Minnesota wins, but I'm taking the points.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about that. Maryland is so up and down, much like the team in Lincoln.
Correct. Speaking of which.
Well, we got one more game.
Oh, do we?
Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
What does Vegas know? Notre Dame is 8th ranked, 5-1, at 5-2 Michigan, 19th ranked. Michigan by a point.
Okay. I thought about this one. Long and hard. And by long and hard, I spent about 0.28 seconds deciding that I'm going to go ahead and take the point.
You're going to take the point.
Notre Dame's going to win this football game.
Okay.
I don't think Harbaugh has a prayer. No pun intended.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to touch this one. I think that this one is the heat really gets turned up if he drops this.
And I think he does.
Okay. I think he's at home for some reason. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is my wild card. I think Michigan wins.
Okay.
I think for some reason they just do. I don't know why. I have nothing to go on other than I think that this is one that he really, really, really needs, and they're at home.
Both valid points.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a mistake on my behalf. I think you're dead on. You're probably dead on. It's a weird attitude. And speaking of attitudes, I think that's something we should go into this week. What's going on in Lincoln? Culture.
culture.
Still building attitudes around there. Clearly, the Mo Washington case has been a big one this week. It's on the local scene. What's going on there?
That's dominated, well, at least early in the week, it dominated the headlines. It started to dominate before we heard from Coach Frost on Tuesday.
We've been talking about this and hit on it ever since the Minnesota game 2 weeks ago. What that game did, I don't think it's a talent thing. Certainly in some spots, you could argue. It exposed, the Ohio State game exposed the talent gap.
That was a talent gap. I would argue that Minnesota might have partially exposed a depth of talent gap.
Part of it, I'll entertain part of it, absolutely. I think also they exposed mental errors and attitude around there. Nebraska was coming off of a win. They knew they were going into a bye. They knew it was a huge momentum game, and they fell flat. There was no excuse for it other than what's going on in between the ears. Now, we entertain some coaching, and maybe still that's all up for grabs. I'm not saying a coach is going to get fired, but I think that there is, without a doubt, in between the ears going on in Lincoln.
I think something that Coach Frost and his team, or a team of coaches at least, need to focus on when it comes to the recruiting trail is recruiting alphas. Now, hear me out on this. Does that necessarily mean, when you hear alpha, does that necessarily mean the biggest, the strongest, the most ruthless guy? Sure, that can be taken into account. What about an alpha mind? What about an alpha mindset? How many alphas are already on this team that are waiting in the wings, but they aren't there talent-wise yet? I think there are some guys on this football team, young guys, that have an alpha mentality of, I might lose, but you're going to limp away from this fight.
44 Magnum.
My boy, 44 Magnum Nelson himself. But I think there are more than just him. I think there are a lot of guys on this team who don't have the talent quite yet to start that are those guys. We might lose. You might beat me. But you're going to remember my name. You're going to remember this game. You're going to remember those hits, whether it be from the offensive or defensive side of the ball. I think there are guys that are there. I think part of the culture thing you touched on is we don't have a lot of guys who are the guy that are starting.
I think that, that goes back to the Jimmies and Joes and X's and O's and all this. Leaving scheme out of it for right now.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I think that technique, I buy some of it, and I'm all on board with Scott Frost and what he's saying. But I'm also wondering, on the technique standpoint, this goes to the mindset, you've got third-year starters that are digressing. Technique by your third year, is it that bad, or is it a mindset? I think it's
mental.
I think so too. Well, clearly something's going on between the years.
I think it's mental on two fronts, and you brought them up. Mental toughness and doubt. I still believe, and I said this last week, I've been saying this for the past few weeks, not all season, but the past few weeks, part of that, oh shit, here we go again mindset is still very prevalent, especially amongst the upperclassmen. And I say upperclassmen because there have been a few interesting quotes from Scott Frost over the last week or two in press conferences where he's kind of called out the fact that, young guys and not buying in. He didn't use that term. I can't remember the exact term. I need to write this down next time when I have a thought like this. But there have been instances where he has kind of referenced, we need to get more guys in here. We need to recruit guys with this mindset. I don't think he's knocking his upperclassmen because I think he's getting effort out of his guys. But I think he realizes and understands that until the entire, and I'm not making excuses for Scott Frost, he needs to step his game up. He's a top 25 paid coach. I expect a top 25 team. And I think that's fair. Yeah. He needs to flush the Riley out. All of it. Before we know for a fact that the mindset is fully changed.
Well, I think, and I'm not bypassing this year, and you're absolutely right. He's 14th ranked nationally paid.
I'm just saying, that's what I mean. Top 25. He's a top 25 paid coach. I expect a top 25 product. That's my tax money.
I think that if you look at a numbers standpoint, by next year, not to give up on this year, there's still a lot of football to be played. By next year, a very overwhelming majority, if not all, of Riley is gone. Pretty much. If you look what he did when he hit the door, he brought in 40-some freshmen. I mean, this year he brought in even more. It's happening. I think that there is, not that I want to throw out every Riley guy and they all stink. No,
I'm not saying that either.
But I think that there's a disconnect there, and I buy the doubt, and I buy that there's a here we go again, and guys get burnt out, and I think that mindsets aren't there yet. This weekend, we'll see. I'm apprehensive. I'm very apprehensive over this weekend and what we're going to see on the field. Now, it's very hard to compare year to year because truly there is turnover, there's change, and it's a new team. I get it. But I do believe in the trends. There are some trends there that don't look good. Technique-wise, okay, that's why I want to leave scheme out of it. Too early to tell. And again, last week I caught some flack from people I know and some of the fans who said, "Oh, you're ready to throw the coaches to the wolves." No, I'm saying that there are some things going on that, like I said, Scott Frost is growing. This coaching staff is growing. The team is growing. That are still up in the air. I'm leaving scheme out of it tonight and just saying that, hey, okay, talent, sure. Depth, absolutely. But you've got your guys out there. Some are third-year starters. What's going on? I think you're going to see this week. Are they going to rise from last year like they did last year? Maybe. We'll see. I have my doubts.
Are they going to rise, or is it the complete and total opposite of last year? Last year, we won 4 out of the last 6. This year, do we win 4 out of the first 6?
Yeah,
and then slide the rest of the way.
It's possible. That brings up the substitutions. We were talking about it, and Frost alluded to it a little bit. Read between the lines. I think that potentially this game, if not for sure, I know the last 4 games, you're going to see a lot of young guys playing.
Well, and you and I talked about this before we went on the air. I think what we're going to see down the stretch is a transition into next year. No, Scott's not saying, F it, we're done this year. We're just going to scrap everything we've done, and we're going to start all new guys. I don't think you're going to see anybody new starting. Not this week. Not this week. Maybe by the end of the year, yes. I think what we're going to see right now, I think what we've been seeing is resulting or going to result in a shifting of gears. I think right now we're in between gears, and it shows. It's showing on the field. We've been in first gear since we turned the corner, quote unquote, last year. The Minnesota loss opened up a few eyes, including our head coaches. We heard Eric Chenander this week speak about, he was asked about guys and young guys playing. 44 Magnum, his name is brought up by Chenander, saying, yeah, he's going to see an increase this week of field or on the field, action. What we're going to see is the transition of next year. You're going to see more of those defensive linemen, those young guys. Why? You got no choice. They got to be ready next year because there's nobody else to fall back on. We lose 2 of the 3 starters next year.
Well, I think it's a twofold.
No, I'm sorry. We lose all 3 starters on the defensive line next year.
I think it's a twofold deal. That's certainly clear that you always are building towards next year, and it's not a call that he's giving up or anybody's giving up.
And I said that,
but it's
also
this works twofold in the fact that it's also a kick in the pants to the seniors and the upperclassmen that this train waits for no one. If you're not going to get it done and you're just going to play, because they're so used to it. Some of these guys, I'm not going to name names, but there are seniors that are like, it's my 3rd year starting, it's my 2nd year starting. Under the other regime, Riley that was here, I started for Frost. I'm safe. No, sir. No, clearly you're not. And I think that you're going to see that in some certain. I think certainly on defense, there's going to be a couple guys you're going to see rotate in. On offensive line,
Scott Frost mentioned a few names a few weeks back,
and I think that dare I say you're going to see some interesting rotation. I think you will. You brought up possibly the right tackle Farniok moving to guard. Potentially. I would question why they didn't do that to start the season.
Correct.
Because I remember in the spring they were throwing rumors around that he's going to play the guard.
Well, and think about how much better that would have made life for a brand new starting center if they had done that.
Well, maybe, but we don't know. I mean, they may not. This is pretty bold prediction that they'll do that now, but they may, or you'll see Bando at guard, who came in the Minnesota game, and you'll see a rotation at right tackle of Ben Hart. We'll see. I have a tough time believing that you're going to outright sit a captain.
Do you think that is where Ben Hart plays? Do you think that's the tackle we see Ben Hart rotate? Or do you think that you see him rotate with Bo?
Bo Wilson at guard?
Or, I mean, no, Jaimes. I'm just asking.
Yeah,
out of curiosity.
I don't. Maybe like in the ways of old, what they used to do is left side, right side kind of a deal. Go for 2 series, out of series. Go for 2 more, 3 more, come out of series. You may see that. I wouldn't throw it off the table, but if from my eyeball test, it's the right side.
Now, Piper's name was brought up the other week, too.
Sure.
Who do you think he's subbing in for?
Left guard. I think him and Bando at left guard, and we're gonna see how it plays out.
What year is Bando?
I'm off the top of my head. I think he's a.
I didn't mean to throw you into the fire.
No, I think he's a sophomore. I'm pretty sure he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore.
So that could be an interesting matchup for the next few years.
Well, I think that right now this is where the depth comes in, and I certainly entertain it. I don't think it's an end all. What the problem is, I think the problem is you've got upperclassmen that aren't stepping up. But I think that I think Bando and it's eluding me. We just said it. Your boy. The freshman you were just talking about.
Oh, Piper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I could see it there. I vaguely entertain the fact that it would be Farniok moved at the last second to left guard. Why didn't you do that earlier? I think that the depth, but it also could be this. It could have been a situation where they're like, listen, Ben Hart wasn't ready. We had nobody else at right tackle. I have to keep him there. And now it's, why not? So entertain it. I could certainly see it. Offensive line is going to be very interesting this week. Defensively?
Let me ask, before we go to the defense, let me ask you one more question about the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Where has Little Farniok gone?
That is very intriguing.
I don't know. You don't know. We're not there. We don't watch them practice. But for a guy who was going to start at center,
who was a journeyman playing guard in center,
and you put now Bando's a little bit older. No,
I think they're about the same age.
They're the same age, but you don't even consider Farniok. I'm not saying you.
Yeah.
But Little Farniok isn't even considered.
It's intriguing,
Bando,
isn't it?
Go Bando.
Here's a guy who, at the last second, Cam Jurgens jumps in there after being injured, and you're the starting center. And I thought before the season, I go, Farniok's a journeyman. No doubt in my mind. He's a journeyman. He's
and I agree.
Center guard,
I agreed with you.
And you haven't hardly seen him.
Milk carton. Another milk carton. This is going to have to. It's going to have to become a feature every week. We're going to have to start. Yeah, we got to start the milk carton thing here.
Well, I like it. I like the idea. He has been a milk carton. I think that you're going to see some interesting, not drastic right off the bat, oh my God, just craziness, but I think you're going to see some rotation. And I think depending on how it plays out, because we're getting to the predictions here, this is going to be a trench fight. Not that, guess what, welcome to the Big Ten. It's always a trench fight. But this one in particular, strap them up. You heard Frost during practice. In between the guards, we were running in between the guards. We were doing stretch plays.
Stretch and trap. And and that's exactly what Shenander was talking about. On both sides, that's what they were working. The focus was the same, and they had ones-on-ones during practice.
Strap them up, and we're going to play smash and see who's who. It's kind of like it kind of reminded me that the vibe I got is when you're back playing high school ball, and coach is pretty pissed off at the tempo or what's going on. No matter where you're at, doesn't matter what kind of ball you played in high school. And you had and all of a sudden it's like get the ones versus the ones, and you started doing tackling drills and Oklahoma drills and line them up. We're going to go straight at each other. You're going to know what we're going to do. We're going to know what you're going to do, and may the best man win. Basically a fist fight in the middle of practice. I buy that kind of went on. It's a gut check time. I think that it's eating Scott alive with what he's seeing. He's not used to it. I don't think he's going to have all the answers this year. But you know what? I remember before a high school game, we played a team that was pretty lousy, and we were down. We were having a down year, and the coach held right before kickoff 5 minutes for kickoff. Tackling drills. Oklahoma drills because he didn't like the energy that was coming before the game. Line them up. We're going full bore. That was our walkthroughs. Kind of like that deal.
Yeah.
Don't mean to digress, but I think that's kind of what you're going to see. And if we already are going to look like crap, well, you said this before the show. If we're going to look like crap, why not put a freshman in and look like crap? Get him the reps.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Wyatt Mazur or Brody Belt. I love the guys. Why? Because they're us. Yep. They're homegrown. They're Nebraska kids, right? They're walk-ons. They're busting their ass every day. Those are the kind of guys I'm talking about. They're alphas. Say what you want. Yep. They have an alpha mentality. They show up every day for practice wanting to beat some ass, whether or not they can physically do it or not. They have an alpha mentality.
Well, that's where you go into what's happening is you've got guys that have the talent that don't have the mentality.
And then enter a true freshman who I think is going to do big things, who we don't really know the full story on yet. Whether it's been they just want to save that red shirt because they think he's that special, or has it been a matter of really learning the playbook? And that is one Ramir Johnson, who has played in 2.
Running back number 14.
We've got 5 games left. He can only play in 2 of them if they want to preserve this red shirt. But he's 3rd on the depth chart right now. 3rd on the depth chart. He is going to get the ball in this football game.
Yeah.
More than likely. I shouldn't say he will.
Well, Dedrick Mills is going to start. He's going to get the bulk of the reps.
Dedrick Mills is going to get the bulk of the reps. I want to kind of save some of this talk for when we get into predictions because part of my prediction has to do with the running game.
Well, that's a lot of mine, yeah.
I think Ramir Johnson is a guy that you might want to consider, and Scott said he might do it. Before this situation with Mo Washington popped up, there was zero doubt they were going to redshirt Ramir Johnson. That is not the case now.
No.
You might have to play him in more than 2 games down the stretch, especially if you start to win. That's right, especially if we start to win. Because if we can get things turned around and start winning, that's when Scott needs to drive home, win at all costs. Not cheat-wise, but win, win, win. Put your foot on a throat, step on it, snap it. You're up by 10 in the 4th quarter, and you've got a chance to make it 17. You do it. And Ramir Johnson has the kind of athletic ability to make that kind of a play with 1 snap.
All right, well then, before we go, I want to get back to the defense real quick.
All right, let's go back to the D.
I think that you may see there is a couple names, Quentin Newsom, Braxton Clark, corners. I think you're going to see one of them, one position in particular. And I hate to call the kid out because he's actually surprised us in his progression. Last year it started this way, and you're seeing a little bit more of it, and he's actually coming to what we thought he could be. That's Lamar Jackson.
He's playing much better football than he did a year ago.
He's played much better football.
Much better.
But he's also kind of ho-hum if you listen to it. I'm completely on this segment right here. I'm speculating. But I think that you're going to see some rotation at corner. I think because they're thin, you're going to see rotation at safety. You're going to see guys. They've got a couple games left. I think this is the game of all the games because it means that much that you're going to see bubble guys hit the field because we got a game or 2 to play with to see how this goes.
You almost have to because of how Indiana rolls. We heard it with Chenander's. We listened to Chenander's press conference right before we went on air from Tuesday or from Wednesday, whatever day it was. Tuesday. Yeah. Well, shit, I can't remember. Anyways, he mentioned that Indiana's very good at not just having a guy that they go to. They spread the ball very well, meaning all of their receivers, tight ends, get touches, which means every single position on Nebraska's defense is going to be tested. It's not like they're going to shy away from Lamar. It's not like they're going to shy away from anyone defensively because they are very good. To whereas Nebraska still hasn't mastered the spread, Indiana has. Indiana's further along in their implementation of their offense under their current OC. than Nebraska is, or at least they're executing a little bit better.
Well, it's interesting because their OC came from Fresno. I think he's I am not sure. I think
First year.
First year. I believe he is.
Now, Indiana's head coach was also considered a defensive guru.
Yeah.
He's a defensive-minded guy, but he's a defensive-minded guy who also hired a defensive coordinator.
But I believe that what's interesting about this, though, is I think that they have some vulnerabilities on their defense. Indiana does. I do. I think that this game, well, I guess it's a perfect segue, Boom. This game comes down to what for you? What does it come down to?
Trenches.
Yep.
That's it. Everything hinges. No, I'm going to retract that. Everything hinges on our offensive line. Everything hinges on our offensive line.
That's a little easy to say. You could say that every week, though, couldn't you?
Sure. This is Indiana week. Who can outscore who? Well, if Nebraska can't score, game's over. Game is done. If Nebraska can't run the ball, Nebraska's done. Nebraska struggles running the ball in the first quarter, it's over. 1 quarter of not being able to run the football, Nebraska will lose this football game. That's why I say the offensive line. It all comes down to the big nasties. Everything that happens that is successful offensively is going to stem from them and from their attitude. Indiana's going to score points. I'm not saying they're going to put up 60. I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but I don't think they do. But if Nebraska can't keep pace, this is this week, Purdue and Maryland, the 3 most winnable games Nebraska has left, and 3 track meet games that Nebraska could possibly win. They could beat Iowa. They could beat Wisconsin. Illinois did it last week. It could happen. Nebraska's got to, believe it or not, before Nebraska can become a Big Ten team, they need to master track meets. And this is their first opportunity to do so.
There is a lot of writing on the wall that says this could come down to a track meet. I think it's going to come down to clearly the trenches, but I think so in the inside run game. How well can they get the inside run game going? Because I think while Indiana traditionally is known, even under this current coach, is we're going to zip the ball around. I think that Tom Allen, their head coach over there at Indiana, believes and knows, hey, guess what? Their offense is pretty putrid right now. All tape evidence points that way anyway. I don't need to go 60 seconds and out on offense. Let's grind this. They're still going to throw, don't get me wrong. But if we can, first 1 to 20. That's what Tom Allen probably is game planning for. If your smart money says to do that, get to 20. Get to 20, their offense. You can't get out of their own damn way. Get to 20. I think you're going to see a lot of heavy run game inside. Of course, they're still going to take their shots. It's Indiana. They're going to take their shots downfield. But look what Minnesota did 2 weeks ago. They didn't put their quarterback under any pressure. Not because our rush defense, or our pass defense couldn't get there in the blitz. We couldn't stop the run, so why would I even put them at risk? Why would I even take shots downfield? They took a couple. I think Indiana's going to follow suit. Why not? It's proven to work. It's going to be inside game, nut up or shut up. He's kind of a nasty guy, their head coach. He likes rough, tough football. They kind of remind me, Indiana reminds me of a Bill Snyder team. Little dirty, a little extra after the plays. They're just kind of the junkyard dogs. On defense, their offense, a little bit of nastiness. We'll see. They're certainly not Wisconsin. I'm not over here saying they're going to rush for 400 yards, but I didn't think Minnesota would rush for 300 and some. And that happened. I think that Tom Allen's going to come in and say, hey, short passing game, couple shots maybe here and there, run it, go right at them, make their linebackers prove they can do it. Offensively, I think Scott's going to keep it pretty interesting on the pass game, but pretty basic, I think, and it's just going to be run. Let's go at it. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a trick play or two, maybe in the pass game, just to spice things up, but I think it's going to be in the trenches, in between the tackles. What can you do? And he's gonna give the young guys a shot. That's what I think. So let's get on to the predictions.
Let's go. Let's do it.
You're up.
All right. So my game prediction.
Whoa.
That's how you cue my segment. All right, I like it. Here's how Saturday goes down. Nebraska was atrocious offensively 2 weeks ago. Defensively, they couldn't get their heads straight. Linebackers weren't in the right gaps. It is what cost Nebraska being shredded defensively. Nebraska had 2 weeks to prepare for this. We heard through press conferences from both Scotty as well as Chins about how they were getting back to the basics, and it was all about being back to the basics. I think Nebraska wins this football game. ESPN has them at 2.5-point favorites. I think they cover. I think it's a 7 to 10 point win for Nebraska.
Wow.
I think Dedrick Mills rushes for over 100 yards.
Really?
When you were talking about trick plays, I do think there will be some trickeration, but I don't think the trick plays are going to be in the passing game. I think this game we see. You notice, do you remember there was one little line that Chins dropped in the presser he had the other day? And that was the whole line up under center. He mentioned lining up under center. Tells me that they might have practiced a little bit of lining up under center this week. I think you see Nebraska line up under center. Not for the entire game. I especially think you see, here's something we haven't touched. I especially think you see Nebraska line up under center if Noah Vedral is the quarterback. Or, I'll throw this one out there, if Luke McCaffrey is the quarterback. We don't know the status of either Adrian or Vedral. Neither one of them. We have no idea. I think we, at least three series, see maybe not an I formation, but I see us line up under center, and I see Nebraska not play Nebraska football of old and definitely not put up the stats of Nebraska of old. Scotty basically says in this football game, nut up or shut up, as you said, as Tallahassee would say.
Tighten the chin straps, boys.
Tighten the chin strap, because guess what? It's sink or swim. We're either going to walk over them or get walked on, but it's going to go down one way. And that is whether or not we can hit them in the mouth and keep on hitting. And I think they do. I don't think that I think it's ugly. I think it's mucked up. I think that's what Nebraska has to do to win. Move from here on out. They have to be able to play muck football. I don't know why. Again, the science is not on my side. Gut feeling, Nebraska wins the game, 7 to 10 points. But again, I will say, and no, I'm not playing both sides, if Nebraska does lose this game, I think the season's over. I think they backslide all the way and we go 0-6, just like we started last season. If Nebraska, that's how important this game is to me, and I think to the team. They have to win, and I think they do.
Okay, I'm gonna reverse roles and be doom and gloom boom.
What?
I'm gonna play both sides, but I actually have Nebraska losing this.
Okay.
By 7 to 10 points.
Wow, so equal and opposites here.
At least. I think possibly 7 to 14 points.
Is this Row 87 with Shuts and Boom or the Twilight Zone?
I think that here's why I'm to the point of what I've seen, and I know what Scott's doing, and I believe in it, because it's very interesting the points you made on your prediction. I think it's pretty spot on. That's an interesting take on the running in smash mouth and 100 yards. I got to see it before I can believe it. I think that's probably is the game plan. That's smart money. I got to believe it before I got to see it before I can believe it. Let's put it that way. If you have young guys in there, it's a gambit. I will say that Nebraska if Nebraska can create a turnover or two and really get that run game going, they're going to be just fine. But I cannot, on what I've seen, I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. I think that if you throw some young blood into the mix, you might see something very interesting, and what you say will come to fruition. It very well could. If we don't get the turnovers and you keep that lackluster upperclassman, not all of them, I'm not meaning to throw all of them under the bus, but if that offensive line doesn't come out with their hair on fire and doesn't open up gaps in the A and B gaps, the 1 and 2s,
let's play some other guys.
Yep, and we'll see. And
I think we see other guys either way.
I do too. That's without a doubt. Right now, I think it's Indiana by a touchdown or two.
And I think that's a fair assessment. Like I said, there's no science backing what I think. It's all gut.
I will say that I really like what you're saying on muckball and the fact that Scott, we spent the whole show talking about, half the show talking about building for the future. Well, at this point, their backs are kind of against the wall, I guess you could say. It's not. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom over here, but you know what? If you're going to build for the future, let's toughen them up now. Let's build the culture now on these young guys. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go straight at them. Either you're going to do it or we're going to lose. What's it going to be? I wouldn't buy. I just my personal feeling is that I do buy that'll happen. They're not ready for it yet. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. But until I see that, and we have an X factor of young linemen, young players coming in, we may see it. You just may. But I got to go with a touchdown to 2 touchdown loss. Based on what we've seen, and we'll see if there's fire. Hopefully we're surprised.
It's Bizarro World.
It is Bizarro World. Speaking of bizarre, if you want to be around me and Boom, I think you should think about joining us. Join our team.
Join the Row 87 squad.
Get a hold of Boom at
shuts.boom@row87.com.
We're looking for writers, videographers, people that want to do critics. If you like movies, you like sporting events, Row 87's all about it. That's what people in the Row 87 are.
We're in the 87th row. That's the whole point of this. It's a fan's point of view. It's not front row, not 50-yard line. We're up in the cheap seats, regardless whether it's sports, movies, concerts. We're regular guys that love to talk about stuff, that love to write about stuff. Ashley, she's a regular.
She's awesome.
She's awesome, but she's everyday people just like you and I.
Yep.
She's just awesome, just like you and I.
Well said, Boom.
I know.
We're going to see. I'll have my post-game reaction. Hopefully the video works this week. We got other stuff coming down the pipe. Keep with us. Subscribe. Share it. Share our information on all our handles. With that, I am Shuts.
I'm Boom.
We'll see you next week.